280 BC. Southern Italy. The Roman consul Publius Valerius Laevinus has a problem. He has heard that Pyrrhus of Epirus has landed on Italian soil. He has heard about the elephants. He has heard the stories about what this man did in Macedonia, in Greece, in every engagement he has ever commanded. He has decided that none of it matters. Rome does not wait. Rome does not negotiate from a position of uncertainty. Rome moves first, establishes the terms of engagement on its own ground, and grinds the enemy down until there is nothing left to grind. Laevinus marches south with 2 full Roman legions, approximately 35,000 men, the most disciplined military force the Western Mediterranean has ever produced. He reaches the river Pyrrhus, near the city of Heraclea, and sets up camp. And then, because Rome does not wait, he crosses it. On the other side of that river, Pyrrhus of Epirus watches the Roman army emerge from the water, watches the legions reform their lines after the crossing with a speed and discipline that stops him mid-sentence. He turns to one of his officers and says something the sources record with slight variations but consistent meaning. These barbarians have nothing barbaric about their discipline. It is the first time Pyrrhus has seen a Roman army up close. It will not be the last. But this first time is about to go very badly for Rome. 2 episodes in, Pyrrhus is finally in Italy. He has the army he spent a decade building. He has the cause, defending the Greek cities of the south against Roman expansion. He has the elephants, and he is about to fight the battle that introduces him to the Western world. Subscribe if you're new and let's get into it. The Battle of Heraclea, 280 BC, is one of those engagements that historians use to illustrate a principle. The principle is this: tactical genius without strategic depth wins battles and loses wars. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The battle begins badly for Pyrrhus. Before the main engagement, he sends his cavalry to prevent the Romans from crossing the river Pyrrhus in force. The Romans cross anyway. Faster than expected. More organized than any army Pyrrhus has faced before. Pyrrhus personally leads a cavalry charge to push them back. In the middle of the fighting, something goes wrong. His horse is hit. He goes down. For a few seconds, the sources say it was only seconds, Pyrrhus of Epirus is on the ground in the middle of a cavalry engagement, unhorsed, surrounded by enemies who don't yet realize who they have in front of them. One of his bodyguards throws him his own horse. Pyrrhus remounts. The gap closes. He survives. But the incident shakes him enough that he switches armor with one of his officers, a standard tactic to confuse enemy targeting, and that officer is subsequently hunted down and nearly killed by Romans who think they've found the king. The infantry lines engage. And here the Romans demonstrate exactly what Pyrrhus observed from across the river. They don't break. Every ancient army Pyrrhus has faced has a breaking point. A moment when the casualties become too much, when the formation starts to dissolve, when soldiers start looking for the exit. The Romans reach that point, and keep fighting. They absorb the phalanx's pressure, give ground, reform, and come back. 7 times the lines surge and counter-surge. 7 times neither side breaks decisively. And then Pyrrhus releases the elephants. The Roman cavalry horses have never encountered war elephants before. The reaction is instantaneous and total. The horses panic. The cavalry breaks. The flanks of the Roman infantry collapse without their cavalry scream. The Roman army routs. When the counting is done, 6,000 Romans dead. 4,000 on Pyrrhus's side. Pyrrhus walks the field after the battle. He looks at the dead Romans, their equipment, their formation even in death, the discipline visible in how they fell. He orders them buried with the same ceremony as his own soldiers. It is a gesture of respect from one professional to another. And then his officers come to congratulate him. The exact words vary depending on which ancient source you're reading. Plutarch gives the most famous version. One of Pyrrhus's generals, some sources say it was a man named Milan, approaches after the battle, smiling, extending his hand in congratulation. Pyrrhus looks at the field, looks at the dead. His dead. The officers he knew by name. The elite Epirot infantry that took years to train and cannot be replaced from the shallow population of a small frontier kingdom. And he says, "Another victory like this, and I shall have to return to Epirus alone." This is not a complaint. It is a military calculation stated with the precision of a man who understands logistics better than almost anyone alive. Rome has 35,000 men in this battle. Rome can replace every one of them. Rome has the population of an entire growing republic behind it, with allies and subordinate cities providing additional manpower. Every man Rome loses is a number in a ledger that gets refilled next season. Pyrrhus has what he brought from Epirus. Some reinforcements from his Italian allies, Tarentines, Samnites, Lucanians who have joined the coalition. But his core force, the trained Epirot infantry, the experienced officers, the specialized elephant handlers, is irreplaceable in any practical sense. He won. He lost 4,000 men he cannot replace. Rome lost 6,000 men it will replace by spring. The mathematics of the situation are already visible after the first battle. Pyrrhus sees them. That's what the phrase means. He is not celebrating. He is doing arithmetic. He sends Cineas to Rome to negotiate a peace. The terms are reasonable, by the standards of someone who just destroyed a Roman army in the field. The southern Italian Greek cities remain autonomous. Rome pulls back from the territories it has been absorbing. A prisoner exchange. A formal recognition of Pyrrhus's role as protector of Magna Graecia. What Cineas finds in Rome is something neither of them anticipated. The Roman Senate of 280 BC is not a young institution. It has been governing Rome through crises for centuries. It has survived the Gallic sack of the city in 390 BC, when the Gauls burned Rome to the foundations and the Senate sat in their curule chairs in the Forum rather than flee. It has survived internal political upheaval, plague, famine, and the constant grinding warfare of Italian expansion. It does not negotiate from weakness. When Cineas arrives, and the sources describe him as making a remarkable impression on the senators, deploying every diplomatic skill he has spent a career developing, he finds an institution that is genuinely considering the offer. The war has been expensive. The defeat at Heraclea is embarrassing. A negotiated settlement has real appeal to the faction of senators who understand that Pyrrhus is not going away on his own. Then an old man is carried into the chamber. Appius Claudius Caecus, the blind. He built the Via Appia decades ago when he could still see. He is ancient now, carried in a chair by 2 slaves because he cannot walk, but his voice still works. He rises. And he says, in the version Plutarch preserves, that Rome does not make peace while an enemy stands armed on Italian soil. That to negotiate now is to tell every king in the Mediterranean that Rome can be pressured into concessions. That the city which refused to ransom its captives after the Gallic sack will not ransom its dignity now for the convenience of avoiding another battle. The Senate votes. No peace while Pyrrhus remains in Italy. Cineas returns to Pyrrhus empty-handed. And Pyrrhus, who has just won the most impressive military victory in Italy in living memory and offered terms that any reasonable adversary would accept, understands for the first time the full shape of what he is dealing with. Rome is not a kingdom. It is not a court you can charm or a king you can impress or a general you can frighten. It is a system. An institution. And institutions of that age and resilience do not break because you beat one of their armies. They learn. They adapt. And they come back. 279 BC. Apulia. Rome has sent a new army. Larger than the first. With some tactical adjustments based on what happened at Heraclea. Lighter cavalry to reduce the panic problem with the elephants. More flexible infantry positioning. The Battle of Asculum lasts 2 days. This is unusual. Most ancient battles are decided in hours. 2 days means neither side is breaking, which means both sides are suffering, which means the casualty figures at the end are going to be ugly regardless of who wins the field. On the first day, the fighting takes place in wooded, hilly terrain that neutralizes the phalanx and the elephants. The Romans, in their more flexible legion formation, actually hold an advantage. Pyrrhus takes losses he cannot afford from an infantry exchange that feels more Roman than Greek. On the second day, Pyrrhus shifts the battle to open ground. The phalanx and elephants find the flat terrain they need. The Romans fight with extraordinary discipline. The sources are consistent that the courage of the Roman legions at Asculum was exceptional even by Roman standards, but the combination of the phalanx push and the elephant charge is too much. The Roman lines break. Rome loses 6,000 men. Pyrrhus loses 3,500. As Pyrrhus walks the field, his officers come to congratulate him again. He looks at the dead. He thinks of the first phrase. He says nothing this time. But when one of his generals presses him, calls it a great victory, asks what comes next, Pyrrhus responds with something close to what Plutarch records as the origin of the original phrase. Another victory like this. The numbers tell the whole story. In 2 battles he has killed approximately 12,000 Romans. Rome has killed approximately 7,500 of his men. In pure exchange ratio he is winning. In absolute terms, given what each side can replace and what it cannot, he is losing. He has been winning every battle and losing the war for 2 years. He is about to make a decision that most historians consider his greatest strategic mistake. Though at the time, with the information he has, it is not obviously wrong. He is going to leave Italy. Not forever. Temporarily. There is a situation in Sicily that requires attention, and Sicily is the next step in the plan he described to Sines, and if he can resolve Sicily quickly he can return to Italy with additional resources and finish what he started. That is the plan. He never does finish it. But that's Sicily. And Sicily is next.